Hmm. Welcome back to another episode of Raw and Radiant. I am so excited that you are here. You may not be able to see us because I only post audio. So I want to share with you that Ashley, my co-host for my retreat, our retreat in Sedona happening November 1st through November 5th, her and I are circling our stages at the same time because we were just on a connection call, just the two of us, just because that's what we love to do since we're soul aligned sisters. And we talked about so many magical things that we're going to bring into this space. And so we have to clear our energy. We have to clear our space with this sage because some of the things that we talked about were a little heavy, a little dark, a little um, needing to be cleared. So we'll just leave it at that. So I am here with my Mystic Soul sister, Ashley D. Adam. She has been on the show before. A couple years ago, actually, I think that we realized that. We were talking about homeopathy. She is a specialist in homeopathy, and I'll let her explain how she utilizes that in her community. But like I said, we are co-hosting a retreat in Sedona, Arizona, November 1st through November 5th. There are spots still open. And after this call, after this podcast, you're going to realize that you're going to want to be in our space. So I wanted to make sure that she was back here on the podcast because we have both evolved and grown in the 2 years that we originally recorded our podcast together. And there's so much more magic and potency and frequency and vibration and all the woo that we can bring into the space. And it's perfectly aligned and perfectly timed because she just got back from a live event in Albuquerque, New Mexico. With another person that is very high vibration. And she is going to drop so many amazing truth bombs and wisdom. And we're just going to have this organic conversation around what I'm calling mind expansion. Some of it may blow your mind. Some of you are going to go, oh, yeah, I don't know if I believe in that. I don't know if that resonates with me. Some of it you're going to go, whoa, that makes so much fucking sense. So without going too far into the rabbit hole of what we're talking about, I just want to say thank you for coming back. Thank you for being in my life. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and everything with my community.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be back
Yeah.
and
So,
share all the
so
things.
yeah, share all the things. But first, share, like, just give a context of who you are, Ash, if just in case somebody hasn't listened to the prior episode. If they haven't, well, shame on you. I'll link the first episode that we did together in the show notes. But please share, like, what your specialty is, what you went to school for, but that's not your now specialty because we know it's something way bigger and way different.
Yeah, who am I? Based off of the connection call we just had, I'm multiple different beings, multiple different personalities, multiple different energies.
Yeah.
Okay, the one that I most identify with though is my 3D title here is a naturopathic doctor. And from there, I had extensive training in homeopathic medicine. I don't know if you want me to touch on that at all. And then
Just
met
a little
you
bit.
a little bit,
Just
a little
yeah,
bit.
because I know there's some listeners that don't know what homeopathy is or don't understand it because that was me in the beginning. And let me tell you, for those of you that are listening, this freaking works because if you have hot flashes, she gave me a remedy that literally made the hot flashes go away. She gave my dog a remedy when she had a UTI. The remedy made it go away. So listen closely if homeopathy is something you are not clear about.
Yeah, I can touch on it really quick. So, what homeopathy is, it's a form of frequency healing, frequency medicine. Essentially, it works via the law of similars. So, like cures like, and the best illustration I like to use is like what happens when you're in the kitchen meal prepping and cutting up onions, right? Like your eyes water, they may burn a little bit, your nose is gonna run, right? May have some sniffles. So then we have this set of symptoms, right? Your body's exposed to onions. It's like the active component in it that irritates our mucous membrane. So the body then presents with the symptoms that I just went through. Okay, so we have the set of symptoms. If I have someone that comes into my office and is like, hey, Ashley, every time around this year, get these hay fever type allergies, right? So I walk outside, and as soon as I walk outside, my eyes water, they may burn a little bit, my nose runs, like I may sneeze. So then I'm obviously going to do my whole case taking process, analyze their case, and find the homeopathic remedy that's going to fit them in their energetic frequency the best. But just based off of those small set of symptoms, the most likely remedy I'm going to recommend to help alleviate those symptoms is going to be allium cepo, which is homeopathic onion, right?
Mm.
So homeopathy works on the law of similars. And essentially what you're doing is if you're exposed to something, in the fullest form, right, in nature. So an onion, a tree, a bee sting, a dog bite, a bacteria, a virus, right? That's a whole other conversation, bacteria and viruses. But if you're exposed to these things, our body then puts out this set of symptoms. So then going off of the law of similars, if you then expose the body to that same thing, but just homeopathically prepared, meaning that it is extremely diluted, so diluted that there's no like physical resonance that it's left. So if you look at it under a microscope, you're not going to see anything. It's just going to look like water essentially. So it's that diluted that it's the tiniest of the tiniest of the tiniest amount of it, right? Then you're allowing that to be entered into your body. What it does then, it stimulates your body's own ability to heal. We all have this innate ability. We just live in such a toxic society, a toxic culture, that it's really hard for that innate wisdom to always be present and always know what to do. So homeopathy serves as what I like to call like a catalyst or a reminder for the body that you are just innately intelligent. Like you don't necessarily need anything, right? You're just allowing this energetic frequency of this extremely diluted substance into the body to then remind the body that, hey, this is how you heal. This is how you become more balanced. This is how you become more vital. So
Mm.
that's homeopathy in a nutshell.
Thank you for that. Yeah,
You're
that's
welcome.
it's really interesting to witness too that again, this could be for another podcast, but when we talk about when we talk about having hot flashes or UTIs or hay fever or anything like that, the mind, the and this podcast is going to be about mind expansion. So we're right here, we're going to blow your mind. So if you drop into your body that onion scent or smell or essence, that your body is actively going to create its ability to heal itself.
Mhm.
So with the remedy that I was taking, folliculitum for hot flashes, like that in a sense is putting the estrogen back into my body, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So that's what I ended up giving you. Yeah. I essentially gave you homeopathic estrogen. So folliculinum is created homeopathically by taking the secretion of the ovaries, like the hormones that are secreted from the ovaries, which there's a plethora of them, but estrogen is the highest, and you dilute that down, right? So in women like your age that are pre-menopausal, perimenopausal, or straight up, menopausal, that estrogen depletes over time. So when you take something, so this isn't actually like the old school way of doing homeopathy, it's a more new age way of doing homeopathy.
Let's go
So
there. Let's go there.
you want to go there? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So the way that homeopathy was initially created or founded was the way that I described with describing the onion, right? So the body presents with this set of symptoms, and you're taking into consideration the totality of the person, meaning that you're taking into consideration everything that makes you you, Victoria, right? So like we wouldn't just be looking at the hot flashes. We'd be looking at your personality, your energy levels, what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat, like what foods gross you out, what foods you crave,
Mhm.
your digestion, your bowel movements, any other physical sensations. And then where I take it a step further is exploring like mental, emotional, and like spiritual and energetic symptoms that the body presents with, or any blockages that are existing in those realms and those realities. But that's for sure more new age. So, so
But
back
wait, there's one more layer too that you bring into the space because, okay,
in,
we're getting to the root symptom with all the things that you just explained.
yeah. Mhm.
And then you're talking about this new age, but you also bring in another expansion, another frequency, another vibration into how you um administer or you offer or suggest remedies to people. And I know that that is intuition.
Yeah, yeah, we'll touch on that. And I think your dog's example is a really beautiful way to
Mhm.
illustrate that. But yeah, going back, so homeopathy essentially, like way back in the day, like I think late 1800s, it was founded. The way that you understood a person was purely off the physical, mental, and emotional. But where I and other practitioners now are starting to realize is that it's really important to consider things from a spiritual or energetic component as
Mhm.
well, which is where, yeah, I take it a step further and I incorporate my own intuition, and then the clients that I work with, just encouraging them to really access that intuitive knowing. I mean, our whole reality is, I shouldn't say our whole reality, but a majority of it, like we already know what we know. So it's just remembering that we
Mhm.
have all the wisdom, which is what we know here as our intuition. I think any alive being like has access to their intuition. And that's where, because homeopathy is frequency, right? You're just feeling into the energy of that remedy. Like there's plenty of times where I haven't logically used my brain to choose a remedy. Because, yes, right, I have the training. I
Mhm.
know logistically, like, look at this group of remedies or look at this group of remedies. But there's been plenty of times where I've been very ill and I can't access that logical part of my mind. And I purely go off of feeling in my
Mhm.
body, like an intuitive nudge, and select a remedy for myself. And I take it, and my body becomes more balanced, symptoms subside. So in the case with your dog, um, it was purely an intuitive thing from her.
Yeah.
So when you're taking a case, without boring you all that aren't actually interested in homeopathy, there's a lot of questions you need to ask, a lot of information you need to have, and that's not the easiest to get with a being that can't communicate with words,
Mhm.
right? So like animals can't communicate. There are animal homeopaths. I'm not necessarily trained that way. But her dog Olivia was presenting with what appeared to be a UTI, right? She was urinating like 10, 15, 20 times when we took her out. Eventually there was blood at one point in her
Mhm.
urine.
Mhm.
So when, as a homeopath, when you're considering remedies, right, you obviously want to consider the blood in
Mhm.
the urine, because that can be kind of alarming, right? It
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
kidneys aren't working the way that they need to be. So you for sure want a remedy that encompasses that symptom. With that being said, there's like hundreds, 200, 300 remedies that encompass that set of symptoms. So what I just did, I went off the two most common remedies that tend to be recommended for that type of symptom. And I had one remedy in one hand in the other. I held it up to Olivia. She like smelled both, and then she like nudged one.
Mhm.
So I know there's naysayers out there. They're going to be like, she can smell it, but like, what are they smelling?
What are they smelling? And it was inside the container. There was nothing to
Exactly.
smell.
There was nothing to smell. Yeah, if there was something to smell, it would be enclosed in a container, but it's diluted. None of the original substance, so there's nothing to smell. And yeah, it was enclosed. And we gave her the remedy pretty consistently. And what? I think after like 3 doses, like there was no more blood,
Mhm. Yep.
right? Like,
And
have her symptoms returned?
no, yeah,
Yeah,
and her
because of that.
her urinating is normal and everything. So like that's so beautiful to be able to witness that. It's proof that our body is so innately wise. The answers are within us. And it's getting rid of the mind, getting rid of the programs, getting rid of the stories that we have been told over and over and over, that this is how we should show up. This is what we need to do. This is what medication we need to take. This is
Mhm.
how we communicate. This is all the things,
Yeah.
all the things. And that is such a prime example with Olivia of just like, nope, this is obviously she can't talk. Like she can't tell us what she wants or what she needs, but she nudged the one that worked for her. And so that's so beautiful. So let's go into so let's skip over the homeopathy. That is so beautiful, but there's such another element to you that you're bringing into your case studies too, but also more than that, I've seen and I've witnessed you bring in the frequency and the vibration and the intuition into facilitating breath work. Like I want to go there. I want to expand and I really want to get into the meat of the conversation that we know we're going to have about this other dimension, other reality, other frequency.
Yeah. How do you want to go there? You want to start and I'll just follow your lead?
Well, I want you to talk about, if you would, talk about like you bring in intuition into homeopathy, you bring in intuition into breath work. So how does that present itself? Because I've had the question before, how do we hear our intuition? Because
Mhm.
like me at 55 years old, like I've had a lifetime of programs and specifically I'm going to call my generation out, like you showed up as this powerful woman and you had to succeed and you need to have the house and you had to have the kids and it was do and go, that I'm recognizing that Ashley, your generation is more open to the understanding of like what is intuition, how do I hear my intuition?
Yeah. I mean, I think all alive human beings possess this ability to just connect to our inner knowing. And like I said, I just call it your intuition. Some people, soul's wisdom, right? All interchangeable terms. So for me, I've always been very intuitive. And here's the thing, I think everyone has always been very intuitive. It's just quieting all the chaos that's going on in the mind. So it's almost like you're not actually having to regain your intuition, like it's already there. It's just reclaiming it and detaching from everything that's inhibiting you from having full access to it. Right. And before we got on this call, we were talking about how everything, just about everything in this reality is designed to disconnect you from that innate knowing.
Mhm.
Because if you're, especially as a woman, fully embodied in your wisdom, in your innate knowing, guess what? The people that run this reality like don't profit off of you. Right? I know people have mixed emotions about this, but the reality is like big pharma runs this entire world. Like
Mhm.
they profit off of your inability to understand yourself. Because
Yeah.
if you don't understand yourself, you're going to go into this fear mindset the second you have a symptom,
Mhm.
right? And when you do that, you're feeding their
Their
whole
whole
agenda.
paradigm. Yeah,
Yeah,
their
their
whole
whole
paradigm.
paradigm,
Yep.
their whole agenda. So
Yep.
the more sick you are, the more disconnected you are from your body, the more, you're disconnected from your inner knowing, your intuition. And then you just run to the quickest thing that you've been programmed to think is going to solve the problem that they actually helped you create.
Yeah.
So that's where it's really a part of my, I guess, soul's mission at this point to really help people, specifically women, like reignite, reclaim this inner knowing. Because specifically, like a lot of the women in my community are moms. When you have an understanding of homeopathy, like just using that, right? You don't have to run to the pediatrician with every little thing, right?
Mhm.
There was even like the thought came up in my mind with your dog, like, Victoria, let's just take her to a vet. Like,
Mhm.
blood in the urine, not a good idea. Like, I witnessed that program mind come up in me, but I think we both held firm in our intuition and like, no, we're just gonna give her a remedy. She's gonna move through it. Like it's gonna be fine. Like she's
Yep.
not, Olivia's 7, right, in human years. So it's not like she's this old decrepit dog.
Yeah.
Like her body's still pretty vital. So getting back to the point that I was saying with helping women connect to their intuition, you don't have to rely on someone or something external to make really important decisions for you. And for me, I think health is, right, my personal opinion, but health should be a priority to a lot of people because it's what allows you to exist in this
Mhm.
reality, right? Like if you're unhealthy, you can't do a lot of things. You can't experience the physical. If you're, bound to a wheelchair or you're not able to move freely or you're not able to eat certain foods, you're not able to pick your kids up, right? Like all of those things really limit your ability to just enjoy this
Yeah.
physical reality. So when you become disconnected from that, you can't have the fullest experience I think that a lot of us came
Mhm.
here to have when you're connected from that intuitive knowing because you're relying on other people, other
To
places,
tell,
other things.
yeah, to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. I mean, that's part of the program. That's part of the game, this game reality. And we keep alluding to that too. But before I get to that part of this conversation, I also want to bring in the space that everyone's intuition will speak to them louder than somebody else's. So there's different ways that you can listen to your intuition. And I know Ashley and I are different when this happen when we hear our intuition because mine is sorry, yours is visual. Like
Yeah,
in mine, yeah, yours is visual and mine's just this hearing. I
hmm
can hear it. It's this vibration and this frequency. It's not necessarily words, but and I saw on Instagram today that somebody did this meme of wasn't actually a meme, but you can ask yourself a question and stand in one place. And if you lean forward, it's a yes. And it's almost like going to those pendulums too. And if you ask yourself the question, you begin to lean backwards, then it's a no. So it's asking and it's getting clear on what you recognize as what's your intuition. It can be something, a deep, like knowing or gnawing in your gut too. It can be what, oh my God, I just got full body goosebumps right now. Like there's little subtle signs of what your intuition is. And it's when your mind comes in and starts questioning and asking, was that it? Was that not it? That's when it's the mind. And it's very subtle and it's very, for me, very quick.
yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think once you allow yourself to get quiet enough to disconnect from all the chaos that exists in your external reality,
Hmm.
it becomes a lot easier to know what those intuitive hits are, those intuitive nudges. So yeah, like you said, I think it presents differently for everyone, but this is just my understanding from having conversations with other people. It all comes down to this just deep inner knowing that like you don't even question. Like you are so confident because it encompasses and inhabits your entire being.
Hmm.
And what I've noticed too, the more you dishonor or disrespect or not listen to your intuition, the louder it gets. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you consistently are not living life in alignment with how your soul came here to experience this reality, the louder and louder and louder it's going to get. And it's just a matter, are you going to listen or are you not going to listen? And this may be going down a tangent, a rabbit hole, but I really think that's root for a lot of people that present in this disease state, right? Disharmony,
Mm-hmm.
imbalance, sick state, because you're consistently not honoring how your soul wants to live this reality. And when you keep doing that, there's gonna be more disharmony and disconnect that happens from the soul and the body. And when those two are not in alignment, living this reality becomes a lot more difficult and the body tends to wear down. I say become less vital, less
Hmm.
healthy.
Hmm. Yeah. I agreed. Like I have so many examples coming into my head, but we don't need to go down there. Um, of people that are in my life that has happened to, and it can be very sad. Like it's like if you're in tune, if you're awake to this, like witnessing maybe family members or friends that aren't aware and in tune to their intuition and playing into the game, then it just becomes like it's almost like a little disheartening too. But anywho, I want to get into I already know you're on fire. I can feel it. I can feel it through the Zoom room as we're recording. And we talked about the mind expansion. You just came back from this frequency live event. Let's go there because we've talked about intuition, we've talked about homeopathy, and it's all this energy and it's all frequency and it's all vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And it ties in so beautifully with what you witnessed and saw and received at this live event.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intuitive component blends really beautifully with the story. I'm assuming we're alluding to the dark energy that I
Hmm.
was exposed to. Okay, okay, cool. So I'm trying to think like how to introduce this. If you are intrigued by what Victoria and I are saying, like keep listening, and I encourage you to listen like without judgment and just have an open mind and just like see how it resonates. We all experience this reality through our own lens, and I think we are the creators of our reality. So yes, we're all here on Earth having this experience, but like Victoria, your experience is pretty different than mine, right? There's similarities too, right? But usually each individual, like we all live in the same space, but like the way we experience life is so completely different. And I think that depends on what our soul came here to do and what our intuition is guiding us to. So yeah, I just came back from I just call it a frequency healing retreat. It's kind of hard to explain what this woman does, how she does it. But she's very embodied and she has 100% full memory of her soul. So I have this firm belief, and it's been affirmed to me multiple times, that our soul it doesn't die. Like it's this experience here on Earth is just a little blip in time, right?
Yeah.
And time is just an illusion. That's another
Yeah.
combo for another time. But
Yeah.
we're 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 always alive, right? And we just come here and decide to play this game for a little bit, and we call this game Earth. And here on Earth we are allowed to have physical sensations, because
Mhm.
at the energetic level we're just a soul. Like I see us as just like this really bright ball of light, and when we
Mhm.
come here to Earth we inhabit a physical body, and when you inhabit a physical body you get to experience the physical, right? Like we get to eat food, we get to have sex, we get to touch things, we get to hear things. And to my understanding, right, just based off my own personal experiences, that doesn't happen in like the soul realm because we're purely just energy. I
Mhm.
think you can still maybe experience like the frequency of love, but it's without touch, it's without sex, right? Here is a very physical, very dense, very three-dimensional reality. Where I think outside of this reality, the dimensions go on, right? 5D, 6D, 7D, 10D, 20D. Like I don't know how far it goes, but
Yeah, we don't know.
I
Yeah.
think there are way more high vibing dimensions than just Earth.
Hmm.
So when you inhabit Earth, right, you decide to come here and play this game, there's really low vibing energies, entities, demons, right? Like whatever we want to call it. And so at this frequency retreat, we were taught a technique on how to clear like dark energy from our bodies. And I experienced a situation that I've never experienced before. I've never shared. So we're going to go ahead and share this because
Let's caveat here. There's no psychedelics involved.
no, I was not on anything.
No psychedelics involved. When you hear this story, you're going to go, oh, she was on something. But caveat, there's no psychedelics involved.
Yeah, no, I wasn't on anything, not even homeopathy. Like I took nothing external. Um, and I want to share more about this because I think a lot of people experience things like this and they just may not be consciously aware. And here's where the intuition part comes in. I have, for the past, I'd say 2 years, been really, really committed and devoted to nourishing my intuitive wisdom and just reconnecting back to my physical body. So I think compared to a majority of the population, I'm pretty connected.
Mhm.
So when this experience happened, I knew what was happening, and because I'm connected to my intuition, I knew what was happening. I didn't allow myself to kind of go into this really negative fear response or kind of spiral. So essentially, what happened, right? We're doing this technique to clear dark energy from our body, and as soon as this practice was being done, I felt. It's interesting how my voice is getting raspy out of nowhere. Okay, whoever they is, probably doesn't want you to know.
No.
Anyways, though, this was being done and I felt this intense like anger and irritability that came over me and I just like breathed through it. And then the right side of my body started twitching. And any physical complaints I have exist only on my right side. No
And
physical complaints.
and the right side is your masculine side.
It is. It sure
Mhm.
is.
Mhm. Masculine energy side.
Yes, yes, yes. And yeah, I just felt really uneasy in my body. Like it didn't feel good. And so then the session was done, didn't really think anything of it. And then we all go back to the group and the facilitator asked, anyone want to share? And everyone was sharing. They're like, I feel great. I feel free. I feel clear. I feel light. And in my head, I'm like, I feel fucking angry. Like, I don't want to be here right now. Everyone's pissing me off. I just want to like go punch someone in the face. Like, I was so angry. And I knew that this was not my anger. At like when I say that, like I've gotten really great at discerning like what is authentically originating from my soul's true expression and what is outside of me, right? What's a program, what's a limiting belief, what's just existing outside of me that's not actually mine. So I knew this was not mine. And then the facilitator asked if I wanted to share. And I was like, no, I don't want to share. And I got like sassy. And then she immediately called it out that she witnessed like a dark force, like almost presenting itself in the physical form.
Hmm.
So essentially what we know here is like a demon.
Hmm.
And I was a little nervous at first because I've never experienced anything like that before. And she said some things that just stimulated tears for me. So I was like sobbing and crying. And what I was feeling in my body was this resistance of, yes, there's this dark energy here. And right, I should consciously be wanting to get rid of it and let it go. But there was also this other part of me that like didn't want to let it go. I don't know if you want to get into this of why I didn't want to let it go, but there's just a deep connection as to why I like didn't want to let it go. So it was like this internal struggle, and that's where the tears were coming from. And then she called everyone around for like a teaching moment and she's like, do you see the entity that's like showing its face? And so she was like talking to me, but she wasn't talking to me. She was like talking to this
Hmm.
entity. So right, she's like, you're not welcome here, you need to go. And then she's like, I'm not talking to you, Ashley, I'm talking to the entity. And my partner came to this experience with me and he was pretty much like, it's okay, like it's here, like I can see it, like you're fine. And people were just like pointing and looking at me and like saying out loud what they were seeing. They were seeing almost like ridges in my forehead and like scales appearing, and even saying it out loud, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what am I sharing right now on this podcast? Because it goes so far beyond what our conscious mind like allows us to accept as real.
Hmm.
And this was very real. Like I very much felt it. Obviously, I didn't see myself, but like I felt a very dark energy come over my system that like I knew wasn't mine. And so it was like this internal conflict I was having with my soul and like this being. And that's where like the frustration and the anger and the irritability was coming from. Because there's this part of me that's like, get the fuck out of my body. You're not welcome here. And
Mhm.
then there's another part of me that's like, oh, well, you've been with me for so long, right? Why am I kicking you out? Like, and I can tell you the exact moment that I inhabited this dark being. It's wild. That experience was wild too.
Mm.
But yeah, I can tell you the exact moment where I allowed this thing into my system. So then after that, I went outside and right, I wanted to purge it. I wanted to get rid of it. But there was also something in me that was like, no, now is not the time to do that. So I just grounded with the earth, like took some breaths. Some people came outside with me just to make sure I'm okay. And then the woman that was facilitating came over, like placed her hands on my head and did what she had to do and sent the being back where it came from. And she was like, it's going to be back. Like this was sent to you to sabotage your experience here. So just be aware that it may come back, right? But for now you're clear. And she did that and I went for a quick walk and I felt so much better. And I came back in the house and everyone was like, whoa, like you look so much better. Like you look so different. Like you look more vital again. Like you're not putting off this angry, dark energy anymore. So that was my first experience with, I guess, what we know as a demon. So that was fun.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being vulnerable and like just allowing us to see you in this space. And again, like this is mind expansion. Like this, take what resonates, take what lands, and if it doesn't, like just be open-minded without judgment, without anything. Like we're all on this journey on our own path, and I truly believe like we our soul is filled within our body, like literally like this meat suit. You can unzip it and you can rezip it, is our meat suit, and the soul inhabits inside. And I've also had experiences too where there's dark energies, and maybe not necessarily I felt them in my body, but more within my space. And so just take a couple steps back and just be quiet and listen to what's around you and what frequencies are you feeling. And sometimes it's just that gentle, ooh, it's 97 degrees and I just felt a cool breeze go over my skin. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is part of the program that they've made us believe, oh, you're making this shit up, like that's not real. But who says what's real and what isn't real? Like ask yourself that question, what's real and what isn't real, and who said that?
Yeah. Yeah, who decided that these are the rules, these are the regulations? Like just witnessing myself share what I just did. Like if the medical doctor heard that, right? I'd be put on all these medications, all these prescriptions, and probably be locked up in a crazy house, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the rules of this reality. But like I'm literally here talking to you, fully conscious, fully aware. I think I have pretty good energy, pretty bright, pretty connected right now. So it's like if we can just disconnect from what we've been conditioned to know as truth,
Mhm.
I think that's ultimately the path to accessing your soul's innate wisdom because you've been so conditioned to think otherwise.
Yeah.
You've been so conditioned that these are the rules of this reality. You have to play by it this way. And you know, some rules you do have to.
Yeah.
And if not, there's consequences. Like that's just
Yeah.
the reality of it.
Mhm.
But when it comes to health and wellness, and that's why I really wanted to share this and share it more because a lot of the community that I serve are these really complex, debilitating pediatric cases that no one knows where they came from, why their child still has these symptoms, and they're really chronic, really debilitating. So it's a lot of like nonverbal autism, pandas, which is usually like a really, really big rage like energy that comes with it. A lot of self harm. They bite themselves, they bang their heads, they spit at people, they pull people's hair, a lot of extreme like OCD, repetitive behaviors, depression, anxiety, like depression in kids, where I've had like a 10-year-old that's like, I want to kill myself.
Mm.
And so it's like, we blame all these things on like, oh, an underlying infection or a pathogen or even, a jibby jab. And trust me, I'm not a fan of those. But at what point do we just get real with ourselves? And it's like, it has to be something that's existing beyond the physical realm. Because if it was physical in nature, the physical solutions would be working.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is like a physical solution is like massage or lymphatic drainage or supplements or like a herbal detox protocol. And I'm not against any of those things, but that's what we're told is going to help, but it doesn't. And then medical doctors or your pediatrician is just like, oh, well, it is what it is. Like, accept this as your reality. And it's like, no, no mother should have to accept that their child chases them around with like a knife, right? And then the child doesn't even remember that they do that.
Mhm.
So it's like, how do we not know that the child is experiencing their body being overtaken by a demon,
Yeah.
right? Or a dark force or like an entity attachment, right? How can we say that that's not happening, right? Everyone's so quick to be like, no, that doesn't exist. But like, how do you know that that doesn't exist?
It's not tangible. I think that's,
Yeah.
that's where our reality, our society is like, oh, it has to be tangible. But, I'm just going to call in, there's a big book that says, well, you just need to have a mustard seed of faith. That's all I'm asking you right here, right now, is the same concept, is just have an open mind to something different than what you have been programmed or told to believe. It's the same as that big book that you've been told to believe. You just need to have that mustard seed of faith. Can you simply open your mind to something else?
I don't know that everyone is able to do that.
No, everyone's not able to do that, and that's why this podcast may distaste some people, and that's okay. But it's just an opportunity to put out into our community, both of our communities, to say, hey, there is something else that you can think about. There is something else that, take the thinking out of it and feel,
Yeah.
witness, be quiet, do breath work, see what happens. Really get yourself into nature and to witness the energy that's around you, to feel the frequency of the water that's around you, to be under the stars and feel the vibration of the stars and the bigness of the sky. Like, how can we think that, okay, I'm going off on a tangent. How can we think that is one and done, right? Like, I'm fully convinced also myself too, Ashley, that you brought into the space, that like my soul hasn't come here just this one time. It has definitely been here before. I'm learning, and then I'm going to come back, and hopefully I learn it before the age of 50. Maybe I'll learn it at the age of 40. But I mean, it is, and it is an opportunity to be able to witness and to see something different.
Yeah. Do you want to go into a little bit of our connection? Because I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, yeah, do it.
Yeah, so just like right what you shared and then feeding off this idea that like this isn't our soul's first time here. Like a lot of us, to my understanding, and I'm just speaking from my experience, like there is a desire to play this game over and over and over again because it's quite challenging, right? So if we are these all-knowing, all-powerful, light, high vibrational beings coming to a very dense, a very thick, a very heavy reality, like it's very fun because it's very different from the soul realm, right? And I think a lot of us, like you were saying, have been here before, and it explains why there's just instantaneous connections when you meet people, or why like I know how to cook like a very well educated, chef, but like I've never taken any cooking classes. Like I know what flavors pair well together and I can't explain why they do. I just innately know that they do. Right?
Mhm.
Or like even your daughter, right? She's a really great artist. Like how does she know? Like this color goes with this color and it goes with this type of medium and all the things. Like how do we just know what we know? So when
But
I
also, but also, I want to pause you for a second too. Like, what are the rules that say that they don't go together? Like, who created those rules that said that those colors don't go together, or those spices don't go together, or those flavors don't go together?
yeah, that's a great
Right?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, man, we can go on and on with this. Like, but I was that's funny. I was just gonna say like how when you and I first met, I shared this with you like in breathwork teacher training when they were splitting us up like into groups of mentors to work with. So I was a mentee. Victoria ended up being my mentor in this breathwork training that we were both a part of. And it was completely virtual. So they like split us up into Zoom rooms. And I was just like waiting for the mentor to pop on. And there were three women that could have been possible mentors. And like I just knew it was going to be Victoria's face. Like I fucking knew it. So she popped on and I was like, oh shit. Like I knew that. Like, wow. Right. And we had a great time together. Learned a lot from you. And then after that, I wanted to hire on like a breathwork facilitator for myself. So like I reached out to you and like another woman. And like logically, I was like literally doing like pluses and minuses of like working with each one of you, right? Like, how would I benefit from working with you? How would I benefit from the other woman? Like, just the experience and expertise that you each bring in. And I caught myself and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, literally just go off of your feeling, like your intuition. And I'm like, oh, Victoria, done. And I feel like that's what I mean, that's what allowed us to literally be right here recording this podcast and co-creating like a
Mm,
retreat together.
mm,
Because I just followed my intuition and said yes. If I didn't and I worked with that other woman, like maybe we would have connected on like a different path. But for me, looking back, that's what started it all. And then from there, we would just have conversations. And I'm like, oh shit, we're so similar.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
we are so similar in how we navigate this reality, the experiences that we've had. And there is an age difference, right? Like 22 years.
Yep. 22 years.
But like, it's almost like we live concurrent lives on just like different times.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never really met anyone that's been so spot on. And I can't speak for you, but for me, there's just like this innate vulnerability and safety that I feel when I'm with you. And if you look at it logically, like we've only what known each other 2 years now? Not
Yep.
even, right? Like barely 2 years. It feels
Yep.
like I've known you for like 25 years. Like you're the first person at this point in my life I think of when like I just want to be comforted and heard and understood and
Mm,
consoled. Right. And
mm,
like logically, that should be my partner that I've been with for 6 years. Right. Like some people are probably like, oh my goodness, why is that not your partner? Right. And he knows that. And there's things I go to him for. But when I'm wanting that safety and just nurture and love and understanding, like you're who I go to for that.
mm,
So like, how do we explain that?
right.
Right? Like that doesn't logically make sense. Like you should still be a stranger in my world,
Mm-hmm.
right? We haven't spent the amount of time together and we've only been in person, what, 4 times?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's wild. I mean, when we get
Yeah.
into each other's space and in real life, like we're like, oh my gosh, like I don't, it's just like instant. There's no way, there's no words. It's just like the energy and the frequency and everything about us together is like amplified. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And for me, there's like an innate knowing that this is not our first time like meeting in the physical form. Like I
Hmm.
think our souls go like way back together. And I think you understand that and know that too, right?
Yeah.
There's just this innate familiarity
Yeah.
that wouldn't make that doesn't make logical sense. So
No.
then for me, that just affirms that like you have a soul group, soul sister, soul mate, soul brother, like whatever we're labeling as. There's like this soul connection that I think we have with a lot of people here in this
Hmm.
reality. But unless you allow yourself to follow your intuition and your innate knowing to get yourself in a container with people that are your soul sisters, soul brothers, soul family, you wouldn't necessarily know that. So I'm very honored to have you in my life, and
Oh,
I'm really
thank
proud of
you.
myself for following my intuition
Mm.
because you've been nothing but a lovely addition to my life.
Fully received. Thank you. Yeah, so I something that just came in is that it's just stepping out of your comfort zone, stepping out of the familiarity and doing something different, being brave and courageous because that's when the growth happens. That's when the expansion happens. That's when this mind expansion gets to happen is like what if like just what if how could it be different? You get to write your own story, you get to create your own reality, and that's what Ashley and I are here. We're just like that's really our mission is to hold space for women that with our retreat is just to be able to hold space for women to be able to see something different. And we're not telling you what you should and you shouldn't do. It's just giving you this awareness that there is something more, or potentially just taking off the veil of one layer to see, oh, there is something I can do differently to create a different outcome, right?
Yeah, I always say if you want something different, you have to be willing to do different. And I'll share really quick. Um, I had to step out of the fear mindset in order to like come meet you. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh
I
yeah.
was, yeah. And so, I mean, I'm sure you can feel our energy. Like Victoria and I have I just the unconditional love. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything you can do or say or act that I would be like, fuck you. Like I don't want you in my life. For
And
me,
trust me, we've gone through a few things that are just like
we've gone through a
we've
few things.
tested the limit. Yes. I honestly that one time that we had that disagreement, whatever it was, like you're pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that there was something inside of me, some dark energy that was inside of me. And I can tell you exactly where it was. And I can
Mhm.
tell you exactly like what I had been doing. And that's what's very interesting is where your physical body is sometimes how you absorb different things, different people's energy and different people's vibration. So it's just being conscious and aware and having a true connection with somebody that can say, call you out with
Yeah.
that trust, with that respect, and go, oh, okay, let me sit with this. I'm going to take a few days and be okay to come back to.
Yeah. For me, that's such a gift to have someone like that in your life, which is why I mean, I'll tell you how much I adore you and love you, and I'm so grateful for you in my life. But why I'm sharing that is because if I didn't take the step to move past my fear to like come meet you in person, which I'll explain a little bit, right? Like, would we be here having this
Yeah.
conversation and, everything that's we have planned for our future? But I want to bring that into the space because I think a lot of people, like specifically women, have been conditioned to not honor what they're wanting, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
not honoring how their soul wants to experience this reality, right? And I just see this come up with clients, right? Like, oh yeah, I want to work with you. And then it's like the logical mind sets in because like the finances, the time commitment, like, yeah, I totally get that and respect that. But like for me, what I've learned, if my soul wants to do something, like I just make it happen. Right. So when I signed up for breathwork teacher training, it was a pretty penny, like 4K,
Mm-hmm.
4K,
Mm-hmm.
5K.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, wasn't really in a financial place to do it, but I just took the action because, like, yes, this is what my soul wants to do. Like, I literally put out to the universe, what do I need to bring into my practice to serve moms? And everything aligned perfectly, like breath work, right? Met Jess and Corey. That's how I met you. But if I allowed the fear of, like, oh, how am I going to make these payments? Or, like, can I commit 10 weeks to learning this thing? I wouldn't have experienced any of it. And every time I've taken a chance on myself, it's only led me to like abundance and amazingness. It's never been a bad decision. Right. And then so going back to when I made the decision to come out and like meet you in real life for the first time, I've been so conditioned by my mother to be like afraid of doing things by myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm this beautiful young woman, and of course, someone's gonna want to do something horrible to me. So yeah, go
So
ahead.
pausing.
Yeah.
So for context, Ashley lived in Chicago or lives in Chicago, and I was in Santa Cruz, California at the time. So there is a vast mileage difference. So there was no driving.
No driving.
It was all about flying.
Yeah, and I've never flown by myself. That's a lot of energy to like figure out. And I've always just relied on the men that I've been with to like navigate those scenarios for me. So I was like, all right, I gotta like really be rooted in my body. I can't be in my la la land. Like I need to, oh my goodness. That's so interesting. Okay, sorry, clearing my voice here. It's still there a little bit. That's okay. I had to figure out how to like navigate an airport, which like scared the shit out of me. Like, really, it's not a big deal, but like if you've never done it, like that's a lot of energy to figure out. And then just flying alone, like being by myself. And here's the thing, because if you are in my friend group, I actually love being independent. Like I love navigating things by myself. But I've just been so conditioned from my childhood and upbringing to like it's not safe to do things by yourself. So I've never taken the step to do things for myself because I've never had to. Like I
Mhm.
have my parents or I've always been in a relationship, like a romantic relationship. So I never really had to. And I still am at this point, right? But like he wasn't gonna come with. So it's like, all right, I gotta figure this out on my own. Like I want to meet Victoria, like let's do it. And I did, right, book the flight and everything went great. Like there's literally nothing to worry about. I'm like, oh my God, that was really easy navigating the airport because there's fucking signs everywhere. Like there's
Uh-huh.
literally a sign telling you what foot to put forward to walk forward. Like there's a sign for everything in the airport and it was really effortless and really easy. Um, and then yeah, you picked me up and love at first sight, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, that's when I think our soul's innate knowing was like, oh, I remember you.
We're back together.
Yeah, we're back
Yeah.
together. We've done this before, but
Mhm.
I'm sharing that because if I wouldn't have just said yes to myself and what my soul wanted to do, like my soul was like a full fuck yes when you were like, well, how about you like fly out and come visit me and like just see how that feels, right? For
Mhm.
your anxiety or whatever we're labeling it. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'm totally doing that. Like, let's go.
Hmm.
And I could have let like the cost of the flight. Well, that was a whole nother thing too, because I ended up extending my stay for like 5 days and they charged me like 500 fucking dollars for that. But I'm like, you know what? I don't care
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm having this experience. And I understand not everyone's like this, and it took me a long time to get here. And I'm not saying you have to get here. This is just how I'm choosing to navigate my reality. I don't always have the finances, right? Like in place in that exact moment to like make the moves that I want to make. But I just figure out a way. Like in this earth reality, like there are credit cards. Almost every person offering something has a payment option at this point.
Hmm.
So it's like if you want to do something, you can do it.
Yeah.
Like you can do it. It's just getting out of the mind that's like, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. Who's going to watch the kids? Who's going to cook my husband his breakfast? Right. Like we come up with all these excuses, right? Of like inhibiting ourselves from our growth and evolution because that's literally why this reality, like how it's designed, right? It's designed to keep you small. It's designed to keep you safe. It's designed to keep you really stuck and stagnant. So you're going to feel that resistance. You're going to have the fear come up, but you almost have to be you have to be stronger than your programmed beliefs if you want
Yeah.
to experience this reality to its fullest.
You have to be stronger than your program beliefs.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Like, go
That's a
ahead.
mic drop right there. Like literally, you have to be stronger than the program that has made you believe that you cannot do something. Like
Yeah.
that's huge right there. So it comes back to that bravery and that courage and listening to your intuition of like, what is it desiring? And if you can't hear what your intuition or feel what your intuition is telling you, just get quiet.
Yeah, I think quiet's a really good place to start. And once
Mhm.
again, this reality is so noisy,
Mhm.
right? Like the only way you're getting quiet, I think, is like if you're like you, right? And go deep in the woods and are able to live deep in the woods where there's not people, there's not society, and you're able to get
You
really quiet.
you can go deep in the closet. I mean, I've been in
That's
the
true.
closet before. You
That's
just
true.
hide out in the closet, you
That's
close the
true.
door, you just send the husband or the kids or the boyfriend and the dogs out. And I'm like, I've got 30 minutes here by myself. No
That's true.
phone, no nothing, no computer. Just sit there and just breathe. And and that's the hardest thing is just to sit there and to just sit there because the mind's going to come in, the thoughts are going to come in. And I'm not going to say that for 30 minutes you have to have no thoughts because that's not reality. For 30 minutes, you see and you witness the thoughts that come in and out and in and out. And you really consciously do not attach to those thoughts. Like that is the key right there. Don't attach to the thoughts.
Yeah, it's a conscious effort. I
Mhm.
mean, I still struggle with
Oh,
it.
I
Like,
still do too. Yeah, I mean, I'm here in 97-degree heat and Joshua Tree, and I'm like, I'm getting out of here. This is just bullshit. I'm not doing this. But it's like, okay, it's just heat.
exactly. Like it, yeah, detaching the emotion from it. Like I've gotten really good with cold exposure with that. Like
Yeah.
I really like using physical things to expand the mind. When we were in Grand Rapids together, I mean, you know that you were sleeping and I was walking and I'm like, oh, there's a cold plunge. Let's do a cold plunge. It was 39 degrees and I did 5 minutes and I could have gone way longer because I just breathed and quieted my mind, but like my legs were like numb. So I was like, all right, I should probably get out. Like from the mindset perspective, I'm like, once you can quiet the mind and just sync up with your breath,
Mhm.
I think that's a really lovely way to start gaming the game.
Yeah.
Is to just like sync up with your breath and that's all exists. That's all that exists. There's no emotion attached to anything. And that's so difficult. Maybe not for some people, but like for me, an emotional being, I experience emotion. I know you do too.
Mhm.
And then that gets you into this spiral and you make decisions based off of that spiral. And
Yeah.
those decisions are not in alignment with how your soul actually wants to live this reality because it's
Yeah.
just a perception, it's just an illusion.
It's an illusion. Yeah. Time's an illusion.
It's
Anyway, we
all
can keep
illusion.
it's an all an illusion. So anyway, we hope that we could keep going on. I know we could
Oh
keep
yeah,
going
we
on.
could.
But I just hope that this podcast just allowed you a little whisper or a little nugget to open your mind, to expand your mind to something different, to know that there are other ways to live this life and how you choose to show up and how you choose to be brave to allow your life to be 100% authentically what you desire it to be because it is possible. We're both here. It is possible.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, are there any last thoughts you want to drop into this space?
I don't know if there's anything really specific, but can I do a little plug for myself?
Yes, I was just going to ask you, where can everyone reach you? Where can they find you?
Of course, yeah. So you can find me, probably the easiest way to connect is on Instagram. So it's the period breathwork period homeopath. Um, email too, but that's like the quickest way to get in touch with me. And then I'm doing it live October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, called Intuition Reclamation. So
Ooh.
just, yeah, tips, tricks, strategies on how to reclaim your intuitive gifts and disconnect from everything that's inhibiting you from accessing your full potential and your full power, which exists in your soul's innate knowing, your wisdom. And then on the last day, we're going to do a really, really soul expansive breathwork experience designed and tailored specifically to activate the parts of your body that are going to allow you to connect to what I call the non-ordinary realms of healing, right? So allowing you to access a reality that exists outside of your conscious mind and
Mm.
just explore what's existing there and how we can channel that and bring that in to help you access your ultimate potential with your intuition.
I love that. That sounds so juicy. I might have to pop myself in there too. So
Nice.
thank you
You
for
know you're
sharing
always
that.
welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. All right. So if you want to see any information, any details about our upcoming retreat in November in Sedona, please
Yeah.
reach out. You can reach me on the Instagram at Victoria Lee Star. You can reach out on email, also website. It's all the same, Victoria Lee Star. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this community. Please, please, please. It helps the show so much if you would rate, review, and share so that Ashley and I have a big fucking mission, and that helps us get our mission out into the world. So until next time, see you all on the next episode.